Mummy, Mummy, the Emperor has no clothes on. They say that honesty is the best policy. Yes, it's true. It's true. But it might not necessarily make you the most amount of friends. I'm recording this video on the back of a comment levelled at me, an accusation levelled at me in a Telegram group that I'm a part of. Telegram group run by someone whose podcast I am a profoundly faithful promoter and loyalist towards. And the accusation was one of snark. Are you trying to police my posts, Martin? I don't appreciate the snark. There's no snark here. The thing is, what there was in this situation was a very, very direct admission of honesty. And when people say that they want honesty, they don't actually really mean it. What they mean is that they want to be supported come hell or high water, no matter what. If you can hear severe quacking in the background and lots of water splashing, it's two ducks being snarky with each other. Now, people want you to agree with them, or all the time, and they don't like to be, I say, challenged. What honesty actually says is, I said this, and then I say it back to you, and then often a fight can ensue. Not even if you're challenging somebody, even if you literally just reflect back, well, the thing is, you said this a little while ago, so we're actually agreeing with each other. But people don't like it put there in harsh black and white, because what that means is that you are attributing not snark at them, but accountability, you see? And when you are honest, when you make legitimate claims, what you're actually doing is holding up a mirror to people. And it can get you into a lot of trouble, and I've always found this. And the nice thing, actually, obviously I'm talking about it, and I'm giving you details of the interaction, but 6 months ago, maybe even a few months ago, this would have really, really insulted me. It would have really insulted me. I would have felt maybe that it was quite a knock, quite a blow, and that I might even be quite upset about it. But here's the thing. When you have a great leader, when you have somebody who, and I do admire this, when you have somebody who is so committed, to their worldview, and they back it up in various ways. They go whole hog, full fat. When you've got a great leader like that, with lots and lots and lots of people rallying behind him, what can often happen is a kind of God complex can start to develop in people. And when somebody throws a blow at you in this way, what it actually means is that you've cracked the crust a little bit, or maybe even to do it in such a public way, you have made a serious chink in this person's armor, and I don't want to tear this person down. I actually think he has really noble intentions. He's incredibly intelligent. He's witty. He's funny, and he is, again, very, very committed to the cause. He wants to know the truth. What I find often in these cases is there is a distinct lack of humility. And when you develop this kind of godlike position where you've just basically got absolutely everybody backing you up, no holds barred, what it can do is engender an air of, dare I say it, superiority that can be quite off-putting. And what I really value in people these days, particularly as I become more aware of how I've allowed myself to be manipulated in the past, is people who can make a really strong and valid point, but in a really dignified and not necessarily low-key way, but a subtle way, you know? And because this is a bit of a tangent, but there's an awful lot of Americanization going on in the English world. There is a brashness developing, because you can be confident without being brash. I did a business course quite a few years ago, a few years before I left London, and there was this chap who was from the States. And I remember that after we'd finished the course, a handful of us met up, sort of a few days later. And he said, I remember you, Martin, you were so brash. And I thought, nah, not really. Outspoken, perhaps, colourful, perhaps, but not brash. And there's a lot of kind of melding and blurring and sort of mushing of particular traits. And what I don't like is, I don't like pomposity. What I really value in people now is humility, which basically to me is the ability to say, that's a good question. I don't know about that. But what you'll often find is that where an I don't know is the most intellectually honest answer, what you'll find is a doubling down on not necessarily even an unfounded position, but something that, we haven't got all of the pieces of the puzzle in place quite yet. I don't like reductionism. I like to say things as they are. And the interesting thing about this particular admonishment, I'm going to call it, I'm not going to call it an attack, because it's not necessarily an attack on me. I think it's more an attack on, well, maybe he feels attacked by my being so straightforwardly honest, which can make friendships harder, It challenges the boundaries in a way. And let's face it, it lets other people know who's boss. If you ask a serious and very direct, honest question, it can say, right, I'm not afraid to ask this. I'm going to continue with the line of inquiry, which did conclude with him basically admitting that I was right. And I said, right, then we can agree that my original comment that attracted the snarky reply from him was perfectly legitimate. And it feels, personally for me, actually, it feels an enormous win of not denigrating him, but standing up for myself. And that's the distinction. Because this guy I love him. He's great. He's really great, and he's doing fantastic work. But as I have posted recently, it's not about the position that somebody's in. You've always got to remember that the most important thing to live life by is by principle. And honesty might get you into trouble, but it is the noblest of stances. And maybe in a close second position is humility, that we are able to say in certain situations, well, I don't know yet, but we're moving in the right direction.